Just sitting here looking at everything that's going on with the economy and everything. Oh, hey guys. Man, forget all this stuff. We don't need this stuff. So guess what? Right now we are going to talk about, is it a good time to invest in a home? Hello, this is David Xie with the Xie Mortgage Team. We've seen all the talking heads. You know, they all talk about, hey, you know what? There's inflation, there's a possible recession, there's all this stuff that's going on. You know, there's a lack of inventory, there's all this stuff, right? Well, let's cut through all this stuff and let's talk about, is it a good time to buy? Okay, is it a good investment? I'm gonna tell you something that I haven't really told a lot of people, but back when I was a younger guy, I met this guy named Phil and he told me about, hey David, you know, you always buy the most expensive house that you can afford, and what's gonna happen is eventually that equity is gonna catch up and it's always gonna end up being a good investment as long as it's a long term. And we've always heard about the short-term successes that people are having now too, with home flips, like sweat equity, just different terms that were so foreign to me before I got into the housing market. You're gonna have two different ways that you can live in a house, right? You can rent or you can buy, or actually the third way is, and we see it on Big Brother all the time, you can live in your parents' basement. But what fun is that? There's really not a lot of fun to that. If you rent, what you're doing is you're making the landlord rich, right? If you are gonna own a home, the good thing is that, you know, you're constantly gonna be able to, you know, build equity in the house. But that's not even the point here. What's going on right now is we do have inflation, okay? And when there's inflation, the cause of that is like, you know, a lot of spending. You know, people are buying at lower prices and they're willing to pay higher prices. But in order to kind of tame that down, you know, the Fed has to kind of adjust the rates so that, you know, that helps the inflation kind of slow down a little. And with that, that also helps the supply chain catch up. And if you don't know what the supply chain is, you really need to start looking into that, okay? All these newer houses that are going up in price, right? The cost of lumber has increased, the cost of sheetrock, the paint, everything that goes into the house. Even the little electrical sockets and the little screws that go into the electrical sockets everywhere else have increased significantly. Yes, it is a great time to buy, if you ask me. Do you think that these manufacturers that are now getting, you know, $60 a sheet of plywood are gonna decrease their prices? Probably not. That's why those words of wisdom that came from my friend Phil when I was much younger still stand true today. I purchased houses that were $50,000, $60,000 when I literally had, you know, not a penny to spend at that time, just on the hope and the dream that I can end up being like Phil one day. And they've now like tripled, quadrupled, and even like, you know, 5 times the money now. And that's what's called equity. The longer you pay something down, the more you're gonna have between the value and what you own or what you owe to the bank, and that's called equity. And a lot of times you use that equity and you can reinvest in yourself. So one of the things as a small business owner or a business entrepreneur like myself is I always take that money and I spend it on enriching my mind with coaching and other things, watching great videos like this. So if you're on this channel and watching my video right now, thumbs up to you. But just learning how to build that equity and reinvesting in yourself is huge. So, you know, I started in 2008 and now I've got rental properties that have literally tripled in rental income as well. And I still owe the same amount on it. It also helps you, and you can look at this as a savings account long term, right? You know, so, you know, the more you invest in these houses at different times, and it's called dollar cost averaging, and that's a word that, you know, my financial advisor uses a lot, is the market's typically gonna have its ups and downs, but typically it's gonna have that little upswing all the time, okay? So when you're dollar cost averaging and you're at this trajectory and you're buying at different times during that trajectory of going up, you're constantly buying. Yeah, sometimes it may be a higher price and sometimes it may be a lower price, but in the long term, it's gonna continue to increase. And finally, we're gonna address something that's, you know, a lot of people are really scared of, like, hey, something breaks down in my house, my landlord takes care of it. Yeah, that's great, but you're actually getting no equity out of it. Yeah, they do take care of it, but how long does it take, right? So to prevent these large expenses from hitting you at the worst times, because they always do, you could get things such as insurance, homeowner's insurance, something with mechanical breakdown, that's gonna be good. You can also get a home warranty, and that's something that's really good. Those are 1 year at a time, and there's typically a smaller deductible. I recently had a HVAC system that was replaced on Friday at one of my investment properties. and it cost me a whopping $700, you know, when it would have cost anyone thousands of dollars. And then finally, you know, put that sweat equity to work, okay? Like, you know, Go in there, learn how to fix things, be handy. And there's one more thing that I really want to talk about, and that's the equity, right? Let's go back to the equity for a second. If you do have a lot of equity, you may want to take out that home equity line, okay? A home equity line is typically going to be a lower rate because it is secured against your house versus a high rate credit card, which you should cut. You should not close the account, but you should probably cut the credit card up. And then just if you have any major expenses, you can always put it against your home equity line and pay a way lower interest rate on it. If you have any questions on this topic or investing in homes, as you guys have seen in previous videos, it's a huge passion of mine. I'd love to talk to you guys about this, and there's really never a bad time to buy. Values are decreasing just a little bit, but that's after a huge run up in values. Interest rates are going up a little bit, and that's something I just kind of explained. However, there is more inventory out there. There's more foreclosures, there are more short sales, so there are opportunities out there. So please be sure to subscribe to this video or our channel, like our video if you enjoy this content that we're sharing here, and please look out for the next video. And this is David Xie with the Xie Mortgage Team. Bye.